Hello, everyone. I know it's been a while. Yeah. So yeah, I know it's been a while since I've done a video. Unfortunately, my company is currently going through furloughs, and what that has turned into is I now am doing the work of two extra people. So I haven't had a ton of time, unfortunately, to dedicate to the videos, but things have slightly lightened up a little bit. So I do have some time, and now that I have some time, I definitely want to continue on with our wonderful video series. A while back, did we do? Well, we were talking about using the TD Ameritrade API library. And so we talked mostly about the standard endpoints, so things like get quotes, get account information, searching symbols, option chain, and things along that nature. Now, for the next couple of videos, we are going to cover a very important topic for anybody who wants to use this library for trading. We will be covering orders. Yes, orders. So this is a fun slash complicated topic because the reality is I cannot show you every possible order out there just because people trade differently. And depending on the way they trade, it's going to dictate the type of order that they will submit. So this, I would say, sub-series in the main series is going to spread out over a few videos. The first video, I want us just to understand the operations we can do with orders. So we don't need to necessarily get into the types of orders that are out there, but assuming you have an order, what are some of the operations that you can do with them? Well, hint, hint, there are three. There are three different operations you can perform on an order. You can create a non-existing order. So that means you do not currently have an order and you would like to create one. So that's the first operation. You then have a second operation that acts as a modification of an existing order. Modification meaning that you're going to take an existing order and you're going to modify some aspect of it, whether it's the price, maybe you're going to add a cancel time to it. Whatever it is, you're taking an existing order and you're modifying some aspect of it. Finally, you can delete an existing order. So that means you currently have an active order and you want to cancel or slash delete that order. You no longer want it to be active. And so what that means is it will not execute if it hasn't executed already. So again, just to recap, in this video, we are going to focus more on the operations that we can perform on our orders. And then in the next video, we will talk about some order types. And then after that, we will go into advanced order types. And then finally, we will talk a little bit about modifying different aspects of our orders. So things like, I don't know, cancel time, duration, and stuff like that. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, before we get started, we will talk about our wonderful accounts. So this is not going to be relevant in this particular video. However, if you plan to do conditional orders, or what we'll for the time being call advanced orders, you have to make sure your account is set up correctly. So what does that mean exactly? Well, say for example, you want to create an order where one order triggers the execution of another order. By default, you have access to that unless you go to client services on the TD Ameritrade website, and from there you go to the generals setting on your wonderful client services page, and you have this little feature called advanced features turned on. If you have advanced features turned on, you lose some functionality that you normally would have on the web API. So what is some of that functionality that you lose? First and foremost, you will lose the capability to create watch list. Or is it watch list or saved order? I think it's saved orders. Or maybe it's watch list. I can't remember exactly. But you do lose capability in the sense of creating, I think, saved orders and watch list. So that is functionality that is available in Think or Swim. Additionally, you lose the capability to do conditional orders using the web API. So trigger orders, one cancels other, one triggers a one cancels other order. If you plan to use those particular orders using the web API, then you cannot have advanced features turned on. I'm going to emphasize that again. You cannot have advanced features turned on. Now, you might be asking, what is the reason I would want to turn on this functionality? For the most part, it's probably going to boil down to two main reasons. You either want to trade futures or you either want to trade Forex. The web API does not give you the capability to trade futures in Forex. So that means if you're using the TD Ameritrade web API, you cannot trade futures in Forex. However, you can trade futures in Forex in Thinkorswim. So basically what you're doing is when you're turning on advanced features, you were saying, I care more about trading futures in Forex and I'm not planning to use the web API. However, if you are using the web API and you want the ability to customize your orders, then you will not be able to trade futures in Forex using advanced features. So that is the trade-off you're going to have to determine. I unfortunately cannot determine what will be the best outcome for you. However, it is important to understand when you do have advanced features turned on, it will limit some of the capabilities of the web API. Now, if you decide that I want to have the advanced features on and then at a later date you want to turn off advanced features, you can do that, but you cannot do it through the web interface. So you can turn on advanced features using the web interface, but you cannot turn it off. If you want to turn it off, you have to physically call TD Ameritrade and they will turn it off for you. And it is not turned off immediately. It turns off during the night when they push the changes through their servers. So I used to have advanced features turned on. I now have it turned off, and it took about 24 hours to take effect. So take that into consideration when you're deciding whether you want to disable or enable it. All right, so couple things. As you can see here, this is pretty much the same exact code as I had in my previous video when we were using the TD Ameritrade API library. I did want to let you know I have changed that library just slightly. So I've been having people reach out, providing feedback, and then also providing some modifications to the code to, I think, improve it. And I'm all open to incorporating new changes. In this case, what we've done is we've simplified the initialization of a new client object. So I will no longer be asking for your account password. It is not needed. And then the account number, right now I've left it in there. However, more than likely, I will not be asking for that either. The reason why is that most of the endpoints that you are basically requesting are by default asking you for an account number. Now, maybe at some point I will add functionality where if you provide an account number during the initialization process, that will serve as your default account number. However, that functionality does not exist. So right now, you will notice that the account number argument is there. However, it's not required. Same with credentials path. So we already talked about that. That used to be called JSON path. I've given it something a little bit more meaningful to give you an idea of kind of what the purpose is. Additionally, I have started improving the doc strings. So now when you hover over it in Visual Studio Code, you will get a more, I would say, user-friendly output. And so I still need to kind of modify it because initially I thought there was a display issue. No, it was just the way I was typing it. So this will make it a little bit easier for, I think, you to read. And then also there's type hinting, which means it will tell you what the return value will be, and then any input arguments, it will specify what those types need to be. So again, this is all about making it more user-friendly and making it more intuitive on how to use the library. So thank you all who have been providing feedback. I have appreciated it, and by all means, keep doing it. If you do, by all means, make a new branch, and if you want to add functionality, do it, and then we can kind of discuss about adding it in. Cool. All right. So at this point, all we did is we're just creating a new instance of the client and we are logging in. From here, we are going to define an order. Now I already have one, so I'm just going to grab that. And then we will talk about what this order is doing. Because for the most part, we're not going to go into too much detail just because we have other videos to do that. However, I do want you to kind of get the general idea of how you need to think about structuring your orders. So, bunch of code. What does this all mean? Well, take it one line at a time. First thing I do want you to notice, this is a dictionary object. So, some of you who might be new to Python, again, a dictionary is just a key value pair. So what this means is that this dictionary contains quite a few keys: order type, session, duration, price, order strategy type, and then this other key called order leg collection. Note, and this is very, very important. Right now, I do no sort of checking to make sure that you spelled this correctly and that it's properly cased. So if you type that and you don't have the capital T, it will fail. This will succeed. This will fail. This will fail. It must look exactly like it does on the TD Ameritrade documentation. Everything. So right now, there is no sort of checking, so I'm kind of blindly trusting that it's correct. If your order doesn't submit correctly, first check your keys and then check your values, because again, it has to look exactly like what you're seeing here. So this order is a limit order, so that means that it will execute at that price or better. And then that's defined by the order type. So the order type defines the type of order that it is. So there's multiple types of orders. There's limit orders, there's stop orders, there's market orders, stop limit orders, trailing stop, and so on. So we have a limit order. The session defines when this order is, the way I like to think about it is, when is this order active? Like what session do we want this order to be active? Most of the time, it's going to be what we call normal. Normal refers to normal market hours. So when the market is open, there is an AM session, so pre-market. There is a PM session, which is post-market. And then there's another session called seamless. Seamless means pre, post, and normal market hours. So I do my best to put all this information in the TD Ameritrade library. So I do have examples of orders, and I think I have it here. Maybe I don't. I put it somewhere. I know it's in the orders one, because you can, I mean, if you really wanted to see all the fields, you could just go to orders.py and you can see everything here. So most of the time, you're probably going to be doing normal. However, you do have the capability to do AM, PM, and you also have the ability to do all sessions using seamless. Duration says how long this order is good for. Most of the time it's day. However, you can customize this and make it a good till cancel order. So a good till cancel order will basically change this from day to good till cancel. And with a good till cancel order, you need to specify a date or a time when this order will basically cancel. Now, when you're submitting that date time, really, because it's really just a date time, you just need to specify that. We will have an example, but not in this video. Additionally, my limit order is going to have an activation price. So this limit order will activate at $8. The order strategy type defines the type of, it's not like the type of order, but this is normally where you're going to start defining your advanced orders. So single basically means like normal. We have a trigger order, which means there's going to be a trigger component to it. And then there's a OCO order. So one cancels other order. So OCO and trigger are the advanced ones. If you're doing just a very basic buy or sell order or stop limit order, it's going to be single. Additionally, every order is going to have an order leg collection. The order leg collection basically defines the instructions of the order. Now, my order leg collection is very simple. It's got one leg. That leg does one thing. It's going to buy, which is defined by the instruction, one quantity of something. By default, it is share, but there's other things you can specify. Again, we'll discuss that later. And then we are going to buy 1 share of a particular instrument. That instrument is defined by 2 components, a symbol and an asset type. The asset type is equity, so it means stock. And then we have a symbol. So the symbol is AA, which is for Alcoa. So even though this looks kind of complicated if you've never seen it before, at the end of the day, it's a limit order. So walk through it line by line when you're first starting to write this stuff and ask yourself, what is this order doing and how is it going to behave? If you start doing that, life will become easier once you start going on to more advanced orders. When I first started doing this and I had people reaching out, trust me, they'd send me orders. I'm like, what in the heck are they doing? I have no idea what they're doing. I would take it line by line and just start experimenting a little bit. Sometimes I'd have to experiment, say, okay, if I change this field, does it break it? Does it make it work? Does it not make it work? So every time somebody reaches out and gives me an order, I have a rule with them. I take your orders and I save them. So I've been collecting orders over time to basically just give you examples of how to do different orders. The only one right now that doesn't seem to quote unquote work too well is the trailing stop limit order. I still need to validate that one. However, supposedly you can do it. I've never been able to get it to work, but I could be wrong. Maybe when we do the advanced orders, I'll have it working by then. Okay, so we've defined an order. The first operation we're going to do is create a new order. All right, so new order response is going to equal the TD client. There is a place order method. And look at that little document string. It's so fun. You can see it takes 2 arguments. The first one is a count, that's a string, and then the second one is called order, and that is a dictionary. It will return a dictionary back to you. So the account, well, that's just the account number, and then the order is just going to be our limit order that we define up here. So that's our limit order. Now, when you create a new order, you're going to get a bunch of stuff back. Right now, I give you more than you probably need, and I will explain that when we print out the results. So all this will do is it will create a new order for us. So let's run it. Okay, so you're going to get a bunch of stuff back. I'm going to go back to my TD Ameritrade account. Okay, you can see there's been a lot of activity. Lots of activity. But you can see I now have a order that's open. It's for 1 share of Alcoa. It is a limit order that will be for a price of 8. So very useful and very helpful. So pretty cool stuff. I like it. I think it's neat. But you can see right now a very basic order, nothing super fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cancel this just so that way I don't have it out there in the open. And then from here, I'm going to go right back into our Visual Studio Code. Now, you get a bunch of stuff back. You get this basically this dictionary. So I'm going to copy this dictionary, and we're going to walk through order.jsonc. JSONC is just JSON, but with comments. And then H, and then okay, and then format that document. If it has binary, unfortunately, you're going to have to just take it one step at a time. And then order late collection. And then that, and then that. Ah. So you can kind of see it's a little bit messy, but I think it is quite useful to kind of see what you're looking at, because I think if you don't, it makes your life a little bit harder. At least that's my opinion. I could be wrong. Okay. Okay. So, we'll just comment that out. Okay. So first and foremost, the big thing is when you place an order, you will get back your headers. Now, the headers is for the most part, you don't really care about that. Honestly, I'm just putting that right now for just my sake, but it will return back the URL that it made it to, including your account number with this wonderful order ID. So this is not documented anywhere, but it's there. Whenever you create an order, there's an order ID. Normally, when I first started using the API, I assumed you just had to query the order. No, you don't. It actually is returned back to you in the headers, but they don't mention that anywhere in the documentation. So you can use the header response to actually grab the order ID. So that means you have to make one less request. And so what I do is I return back this dictionary to you where you have the content key, your headers key, you're going to have your order ID key, and then you're going to have your request body, which basically was the order that you sent through. So all this is just information where if you want to use it again, you can use it. Additionally, I give you the status code and the request method. So you can see right here, there's a post and there's a status code 201. When you're doing a post request, 201 means good job, I like it, things were working. And then you have your order ID. So your order ID is obviously very important if you want to make sure that you have access to your order. It's very useful. So again, how you plan to use it and how you choose to use it is up to you, but do know the information is there if you want it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new, not like that, goodness. I'm going to create a new order ID. So when I submit my order again, I'm going to grab the order ID key, which returns the value, which is the order ID. So I'll have my order ID, and then we're going to move on to our next operation, which is modifying an existing order. So modifying the order is, at this point, we're just going to keep it very simple, nothing crazy. We are going to have a, we'll call it a new limit order. And all I'm literally going to do is I'm just going to move up that activation price to 820. So at this point, I have a new order. It's a separate dictionary. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the modify order response. This is going to be my variable. And that's going to equal the TD client. You will notice there is a modify order method. And this one has just one extra argument, which is the order ID. The order ID is for an order that currently exists. It's very important that it exists. Additionally, you can modify an order for that account. So if the order exists on a particular account, you can't just say modify the order, but then add it to a different account. Doesn't work like that. Orders are specific to accounts. So if you're going to modify the order, you have to make sure that the order exists in the account that you're specifying in the call. So the first is the account number, and then the second one is going to be your new limit order. And then finally, I'm going to pass through the order ID of an existing order that exists in my account that I want to now modify it. And so that's defined by my order ID. And so if I just indent it a little bit so it's a little easier to read, you will see that we pretty much get exactly the same stuff. And then from here, I'll call it modified order ID. Perfect. Let's see what we get. Okay. So the first one was still successful. That's great. And now we have our second one. Note, where is it? There's that one. And then you still have that same order ID. That's very helpful just because, oh wait, no, I think I'm looking at the wrong one. Oh no, I put in the wrong, did I put the wrong one in there? Why is it saying post? It's definitely not post. Oh, that's why, because I did modify order response. My bad. My bad. I wasn't looking and I did the wrong one. So let me cancel that one really quick. Bam. Okay. And then cancel it. I'll tell you how I knew that wasn't right. I will tell you very much in a second. Okay. First and foremost, Here's your order. Here's your other order ID. They're different. When you do a modification, it cancels the other one behind the scenes. So from the API perspective, it's like you're canceling it, and then it's like you're creating a new one. It's just that the modification one is doing both of those operations in a single call. So instead of having to do two separate calls, you can just do a modify, which then deletes and then creates a new one. So every time you modify, you're going to have a different order ID. So it is important that if you're modifying it and anywhere in your code you're using that order ID to track something, to query it or whatever, you do need to be aware that when you modify it, you're going to basically negate that old order ID and that you have to now use the new modified order ID. So very important that you understand that. But you can tell also that it was a put request this time. So put is basically for replacing. Post is for creating. However, the status code is 201. So a lot of times if you're doing a GET request, you're looking for a status code 200. For a put and a post request, you're going to be looking for a status code of 201, at least with the TD API. So let's take a look and see. So what I should see right here is I'm going to see two orders. So notice here, I have my 8.1, so my original, and then I have my new 8.21. So it canceled the original one and it modified the other one. And you can even see the operations here. So it's even saying cancel and replace. So naturally, if you can do it from the web interface, you can do it here. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the final operation, which is canceling an existing order. Okay, so that was modifying. Now we're going to cancel an existing order. Okay, so cancel order response equals the TD client. And then this one, you're going to be calling cancel order. In this case, two arguments. The first one is the account number. That is the account which the order is contained in. And then the next one will be your order ID. So this is the order ID that you want to cancel. In this case, I'm going to be taking the one that we modify when we call this script again, and I want to cancel that one. So I'm just going to put that there. And then you will notice that this one, for the most part, has the same exact output, but some pieces will be missing. Great. Okay, so there was our creating one, here was our modifying one, and then finally here was our delete one. So very important to keep in mind that for a delete, so a delete method, you're going to be looking for a status code of 200. 200 means it was successful. And then this one will not return an order ID because once you cancel an order, there's no point of sending back an order ID. Why would I send it back? There's nothing there. It's gone. It's no longer there. And then on top of that, the headers actually no longer contain it. You can see right here. So very important to keep in mind, it actually will no longer have an order ID and you will no longer see it on your account. Now here, you're going to see everything basically still grayed out, but you can tell that that one happened. So I created it and then I canceled it right after it. So very basic stuff at this point, hopefully, that you're kind of seeing what you can do. So for the most part, that is orders. Those are the basic operations you would perform with orders. So you can, again, modify an existing order, you can cancel an existing order, or you can create a new order. So those are the basic operations. Once you have those basic operations down, we can now move on to basically order types. And then from there, we'll go on to advanced order types, and then we'll start talking more about order structure. So how to make your orders trigger or behave in the manner that you were expecting. So at this point, if you have any questions regarding orders, I will say first, check out the library and see if it's there. So again, if you're on GitHub, I will show you GitHub. Okay, so it's going to be here. FYI, I did open the Python SEC one. Can't use it, but it's there. Well, you can use it, but it's not really useful yet. So if you're at the TD Ameritrade Python API library, you're going to go to samples, and then you're going to see a folder that is dedicated to orders. And so if you go here, you will see all sorts of wonderful orders. So stop limit, option orders, market orders, all sorts of fun stuff. So first check there if maybe, the answer you need, and it might be there. If it's more of an operation specific question, by all means, feel free to ask it. But I will say, check your account number first. Make sure your order ID is still active. And then probably the biggest thing, which is going to throw a lot of people off, make sure your order is structured correctly. So check the spelling, check the casing of the letters, make sure that any argument you're passing through is all caps. If you need examples of where to find that, you can obviously go to the TD Ameritrade developer website. You can look here for some examples as well. So just to see, how to specify certain variables. And then, all else fails, by all means, you can email me, and then I'll try to hopefully give you an answer. Sometimes I don't even know myself. But yeah, so at this point, again, any questions, you have those resources. Next video, we'll start talking about order types. So we'll see you in the next video.